Chairman, thank you very much. Before I ask my questions or comment, I always like to give a little bit of good news. I do this on a regular basis because we get intense around here. I just want to, you know, where we were 3 years ago, where we are today. I'll just read you headlines from just yesterday. U.S. stock rises on home sales data. Housing trends make Home Depot a buy. Why? Because people are now remodeling, spending in their homes they live in. Pending home sales rise to a near two-year high. Economy moving in the right direction. National Association for Business Economics say forecasters have raised their expectations for employment, new home construction, and business spending. Why? Again, because the economy is moving in the right direction. Consumer confidence up in February for the 6th straight month. Along with that today, if I recall the numbers, unemployment claims are at the lowest level, or the most consecutive level, lowest level since March 2008. Why I like to do that is because this is a budget committee meeting. We want to talk about not only cuts, but where we are in this economy. Is it where we want it to be? No. Can it be better? Yes. Is it better? Absolutely. So I want to put that into context here. I do want to my colleague on their side, I can answer your question on insurance premiums, not that I want to see any military premiums increase, but they pay a lower premium, a lower co-payer than folks who work in the federal government as a civilian worker. That's just the facts. That's why there's probably an adjustment. But I don't, you know, without the chart, I just want to make sure that's clear. The other thing I want to make point, the chart was interesting about the military expenditure, but we have to include State Department, CIA, Ag, and oh, by the way, VA, the VA, which will be trillions to the expense of these wars. We cannot forget that. I know I serve on the Veterans Committee. I know a couple of my other members here do. That's an ever-growing cost to us that we must bear, and we are responsible to do. They served our country. They did it at our call. We can argue over the wars, but the VA must be taken care of, and the veterans must be taken care of. So I want to make sure when we talk about these numbers, everything's included today and into the future, because it's important that the public who watches this or are subjected to watch us in this opportunity here, they get the facts. I want to ask you specifically, I want to be a little parochial, but I do want to follow up on one question that was asked earlier, and it leads to my question about Eielson Air Force Base in Alaska. But first, before I do that, I can't have the details. I know there was some debate over how many bases in Japan, how many bases in Germany, so forth. But there's over 600 military bases overseas, and I guess my concern is, as we look at the realignment, especially now that we've identified the Asia-Pacific as an important asset that we need to protect and be engaged in. Of course, I'm biased here. Alaska is, by air, by sea, is the closest other than Hawaii, despite how they put Alaska down by California all the time. No disrespect to your state, but they get a little confused on the map. But we are closer in a lot of ways. So I'm a little confused on why we have these 600-plus bases with limited, I understand now you're thinking about 2 brigades, now. 2 years ago we asked for this. I know you weren't there 2 years ago. We asked for this. Now there's some discussion. Eielson Air Force Base, which seems to be in the right location, the F-16s they're planning to move, was the same debate we had when we did the BRAC, the exact same debate. We're not doing a BRAC. Now the folks are just doing it. So first question is, did the Department of Defense's legal counsel look at this and how it conforms or not conforms to what BRAC may require if there is a BRAC? In other words, this seems to be kind of going around the system.
Senator, I think the reason the President would be requesting a BRAC is to basically go through the process of what infrastructure should we reduce in this country. And so that's the process that I would expect we would go through.
But Eielson is already, here's what they've done. This is what gets me very concerned. They've said we're going to move these F-16s, and now the Air Force is now doing the analysis if it's going to save money. Versus the Army, which I'll use Fort Wainwright and other forts in Alaska, they're actually going through a process before they determine what they're going to do. I don't get this, to be very frank with you, that it's almost like they've picked a location, many locations, I will say, some of my colleagues here in their states, but they're now starting the analysis. Does that seem, and yet this is the same debate we had in BRAC on the same location?
I strongly urge that you talk with the the Air Force Chief and the
We
Air
have.
Force Secretary.
General Schwartz, we've had him up in Alaska, and
Okay.
still have the same questions. That's why you're here today, and that's why I'm asking you
Well,
today.
and I guess I have to ask them the same question.
Okay, so can I look forward to having a response back
Yes,
on that?
indeed.
That would be very important. The last thing I'll just say, I would, and we'll put it in for the record on MEADS. You know, it was in this committee a year ago, and it was through the work of the chair bringing folks here in front of us that we discovered some expenditure that we think is not the best use of the money. I need more definition of why you are funding that again. And I have some other questions. I'll submit them to the record in keeping with my time as the chair restricted us.
No,
to.
I appreciate that, and we'll get a full response back to you. But I think the problem with MEADS is if we don't meet our funding requirement, that the obligation that we made will incur an even larger fine for not putting up that money.
Except I'll end on this. Every contract you sign, any department signs, is subject to appropriation. That's how the contractor signs it, knowing that this body, meaning the Senate, could not appropriate. We never exercise that. It's like a fake clause. Well, let's just not give the money. No fines then, because they signed the contract with that obligation.
No,
So,
I understand, and appropriations ultimately makes those decisions, and, you know, one way or another, we'll pay a price here if we don't meet that obligation.
okay, I'll leave it at that.